Hello and welcome and happy Easter. It is a cold and snowy Denver day today, but it is also day 12 of Camp NaNoWriMo, and I have some interesting updates for you on how my second week went. So if you'd like to find out, stay tuned and I'll tell you all about it. Alright, welcome back. For anyone new, my name is Emily Harris and I write steamy historical romances, such as these. I have been participating in Camp NaNoWriMo this April, and if I complete it, this will be my third attempt and first completion of a Camp Nano. I do usually partake in the regular Nano and do just fine, but for some reason the camps don't go well for me. But enough of that. As mentioned in my camp intro video, I am trying to set some routines for myself this camp, and I am also attempting to see how far I get in my next work in progress, which is book 5 in my current series. Week 1 went well, and let's see how I did for week 2. I wrote 5 days in total. My average word count per day was 4,850, and I added a total of 24,267 words to my manuscript, bringing my manuscript to about just over 36,000 words. Alright, now on to the observations I have made during this time. Firstly, this is the ugliest, most horrible first draft I have ever put together. I mean, it's awful. It's painful. It really is. But that's okay. I am forcing myself to do it this way because my experiment is, can I create a consistent dictation schedule and at least get the words down, get some sort of words down that I can work with? So far, that's been happening. I had an interesting thing happen, I think on day 2 of writing this week, where I realized I came to the point where I would normally stop, get stuck, and delay my manuscript for weeks, if not months. What was it, you ask? Well, I realized I got to a point in my story, somewhere in Act 2, where I did not have enough information. I knew generally what was going on and where I wanted things to go, but I didn't have the details. So I had to debate, do I want to spend time on this or do I want to go back later and deal with the plot holes? Normally, I would stop where I am and deal with it. Try to figure out, okay, what do I need to know? Usually, the answer is motivation of some sort. I need to find out why a character is doing what they're doing and how that affects everything else going on. So that's kind of a big item, and it's probably what leads to, I'm guessing, what leads to plot holes, major plot holes in manuscripts. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but I still want to carry on this experiment as I have been doing it and find out how it goes. So I opted to just push past it, make a note, dictate a few notes to myself, and move on. I did spend a few minutes outlining and brainstorming at the end of each day to acknowledge that gap that's there and do my best to continue the story with what I think the solution will be. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Next thing realizing this and realizing I am moving forward where I would normally stop in a project, I am really interested to find out how this will affect my editing later. Because I know from my last project, I worked on it, I believe, 11 days in total, every single day. And I was starting with a manuscript of about 35 to 38,000 words. 20,000 off from what I needed, but I had most of my scenes at least kind of outlined for what I still needed. I wound up during revisions, in some cases creating entirely new scenes, in some cases ditching scenes, and in most cases, most optimally, I just revised and prettied up the scenes that I had. So that took me 11 days. If I get to my word count on this one, but the words are a lot uglier than what I had on the last one, I'm curious to see how it will compare, because I did do some extensive revision on the last one. And consistency issues. I mentioned this a little bit, but my schedule so far is pretty good up until noon. At noon, the whole world falls apart. I take my lunch break and I don't get back to doing anything useful unless it's a Friday or Saturday, because I have work hours in the evening for my other job that I have to do. I see this kind of as burnout a little bit, because by noon I've already basically worked an 8-hour day. I start my work day between 4:30 and 5:30 every day, depending on if I have classes to teach at 4:30 or not. And that doesn't mean getting up at 4:30. That means sitting here in front of the computer, click the button, hello, how are you, at 4:30. And immediately following those hours, then I have tutoring hours, and then I have maybe a little breakfast, and I go straight into my dictation for 2 hours. That puts me to noon. And I have been having a rough time getting back to it after my lunch break. All right, so this has been, on one hand, the most frustrating experiment I've ever put myself into, because I am trying to work in a way that I'm not used to. This ugly draft thing is new to me, and it's really hard for me. But on the other hand, it has been the most exciting drafting period that I've ever had, because I'm seeing this coming to completion very quickly. This portion of it, just getting the initial words down. I've never done really so fast, at least not so quickly, without stress. I've done it before. I've written an entire book in the past in 2 weeks, but I was stressed beyond belief. It was because of a deadline. So I don't have that now. I have my 2 hours each day, I have my 2 days off, and it's been great. It's been very exciting. So it's a really interesting mix. I'm having a huge amount of fun with this. And for next week, if all goes well, I will be completing my manuscript first draft round about midweek, Wednesday, Thursday. And then I need to start thinking about what do I want to do next for the remainder of April. Do I want to start on something else and let that one sit until I get back to it, or immediately start on edits? That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at right now at the end of this week. So I will end it there, and next week we're going to see if I actually finished this first ugly draft or not, and what I decided to do for the remainder of April. Until then, thank you for watching. Please do consider subscribing if this is of interest to you, and I will see you then.